10 Star Trek female characters that made TNG better. Star Trek The Next Generation introduced several strong and intelligent female characters, most of whom didn't stick around as long as they should have. Led by Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, TNG's ensemble cast featured Dr. Beverly Crusher, Gates McFadden, and Counselor Deanna Troi, Marina Sirtis, as main characters, although they did not always receive the strongest storylines. Throughout its 7 seasons, TNG introduced many interesting female characters who only appeared for 1 or 2 episodes, despite having the potential for more stories. Although Star Trek's depiction of women improved dramatically in Star Trek The Next Generation when compared with Star Trek the original series, TNG was still a product of its time. Many fascinating female characters were introduced throughout the series, but they rarely stuck around long enough to become fully developed characters. Thankfully, modern Trek shows like Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Lower Decks, and Star Trek Prodigy have brought back some of these characters who were underutilized in their initial appearances. In the iconic Star Trek The Next Generation two-parter, The Best of Both Worlds, Commander Elizabeth Shelby was sent to the USS Enterprise D to investigate potential Borg attacks. When Shelby learned that Commander William Riker, Jonathan Frakes, had been offered his own command, she set her sights on becoming the next first officer of the Enterprise D. After Captain Picard was kidnapped and assimilated by the Borg, Shelby proved to be an incredibly skilled officer as she led an away team to the Borg cube. Picard's capture left Riker in charge of the Enterprise, and Shelby stepped up as his temporary first officer. In the battle against the Borg, Riker and Shelby made a good team, ultimately rescuing Picard and destroying the Borg cube. Suzie Plakson's Kellier made her debut in Star Trek The Next Generation's The Emissary, where she traveled to the Enterprise to intercept an old Klingon sleeper ship. From her very first scene, Plakson imbued Kellier with so much personality that she was instantly memorable. Upon arriving on the Enterprise, Kellier reconnected with her former flame, LT Worf, Michael Dorn, but she refused to marry him when he asked. After completing her mission in The Emissary, Kellier did not make another appearance until TNG Season 4's reunion. When came aboard the Enterprise this time, she had her young son, Alexander, John Stoyer, in tow and surprised Worf by revealing that he was the father. Tragically, the Klingon Duras, Patrick Massett, killed Kellier when he discovered that she had found evidence linking him to Worf's discommendation. Dr. Leah Brahms may be most remembered as the subject of LT, Commander Geordi LaForge's, LeVar Burton, awkward holodeck romance, but she was a compelling character on her own. A brilliant scientist who helped design the Enterprise's engines, Brahms could easily have played a larger role in Star Trek The Next Generation. Brahms was an expert in warp field theory, and the Enterprise crew could have contacted her more often. Leah Brahms visited the USS Enterprise D in Star Trek The Next Generation's Galaxy's Child, which led to an awkward conversation with Geordi when she discovered his holodeck program. Brahms felt understandably violated by LaForge's program, and his reaction didn't exactly do him any favors. Still, the two put aside their differences and worked together in the end, eventually becoming good friends. Star Trek The Next Generation, TNG, broke ground in many ways, and one of its defining features was its diverse and multidimensional female characters. From commanding officers to complex diplomats, these women not only contributed to the storytelling, but also helped redefine what it meant to be a female character in a science fiction series. Let's take a look at 10 female characters who made TNG better by their presence, intelligence, and spirit. 1. Captain Kathryn Janeway, appearing in a TNG crossover. Though Captain Janeway is most known for commanding the USS Voyager, she made an appearance in The Next Generation that hinted at the future of Star Trek. Janeway brought a strong presence as a captain, someone who combined intellect with intuition. Her crossover role laid the groundwork for what would become one of the most prominent and respected captains in the Star Trek franchise. Even in her brief appearances, Janeway's character represented a breaking of traditional gender boundaries in leadership roles within Starfleet. 2. Dr. Beverly Crusher, as the Chief Medical Officer aboard the USS Enterprise. Dr. Beverly Crusher combined scientific expertise with emotional intelligence. Played by Gates McFadden, she was more than just the ship's doctor. Crusher was a single mother, a trusted advisor, and a moral compass for Captain Picard and others on the crew. Her ability to maintain a warm bedside manner while performing complex medical procedures made her a standout character. Crusher was also one of the few characters willing to challenge Picard's decisions, reminding viewers of the importance of ethical leadership. 3. Counselor Deanna Troi. Deanna Troi, played by Marina Sirtis, was the ship's counselor, an empathic half-betazoid who brought psychological insights to both the crew and Starfleet missions. Troy's ability to sense emotions gave her a unique edge in diplomacy and conflict resolution. What made her integral to the show was her emotional vulnerability, her commitment to others, and her courage to grow throughout the series. Whether helping Picard deal with trauma or facing down alien threats, Troy's empathy was her strength. She was instrumental in portraying emotional intelligence as a form of leadership. 4. Tasha Yar. Tasha Yar, the original security chief of the USS Enterprise, was a pioneer in representing women in combat roles. Played by Denise Crosby, Yar brought a raw intensity and passion to her role as security chief, where she proved herself more than capable of standing toe-to-toe with any adversary. Though her time on the series was short-lived, her impact resonated throughout the show, and her alternate timeline appearances in later episodes showed her continued importance. Yar's toughness and resilience opened doors for future women in action roles within the Star Trek universe. 5. Guinan. Whoopi Goldberg's portrayal of Guinan, the enigmatic bartender of 10 Forward, brought wisdom, warmth, and an aura of mystery to TNG. As a member of the long-lived El-Orion species, Guinan had a unique perspective on life, offering Picard and the crew sage advice during some of their most critical moments. Her presence was often calming, and she served as both a spiritual guide and an emotional support system. Guinan's subtle yet profound influence made her a fan favorite, and her special connection to Picard added depth to both characters. 6. Waxana Troi. Waxana Troi, Deanna's larger-than-life mother, was played by Majel Barrett Roddenberry, who also voiced the ship's computer. As the Betazoid ambassador, Waxana brought a blend of humor and dignity to the series. Despite her flirtatious and over-the-top persona, Waxana's character arcs often revealed deep layers of vulnerability and strength, especially in episodes that explored her loneliness and loss. Her relationship with Deanna helped shed light on the complex nature of family dynamics, even in the 24th century. 7. Ensign Rolaren. Rolaren, played by Michelle Forbes, brought a new level of tension and realism to TNG. A Bajoran officer with a troubled past, Rose's rebellious nature and refusal to conform made her stand out. Her complex backstory as a survivor of the Bajoran occupation added emotional depth to her character, and her ongoing struggle with authority, especially with Picard, allowed the show to explore themes of trust, redemption, and personal responsibility. Rolaren was unapologetically bold, and her presence added layers to the show's depiction of Starfleet officers. 8. Admiral Alina Nechayev. Admiral Nechayev, portrayed by Natalia Nagili, was a character that embodied the more bureaucratic and political side of Starfleet. As an admiral, she was often at odds with Captain Picard, enforcing orders that reflected the more complex and morally gray side of Starfleet. Nechayev's presence showcased that even in the future, the tension between idealism and practicality remains. Her tough, no-nonsense attitude made her one of the more memorable Starfleet officers, and her dynamic with Picard gave viewers a deeper look at the complexities of leadership.